Hi, I'm Dean. Welcome to the channel. I'm a 1/35 scale armour modeller, and here I share clear, honest reviews to help you decide what's worth your time and money. In this unboxing review, I'm looking at the German heavy self-propelled howitzer Hummel Late production 1/35 scale Tamiya kit, reference 35367, and it's a 2019 tooling. Or, to give it its designated vehicle name, it's the 15cm schwer Panzer Hubitz 18/1st iteration Auf Fergstell Panzerkampfwagen 3-4 SF SDK FZ Spot 165. This Hummel was designed in 1942. It provided mobile long-range fire support for Panzer divisions, and it used the hybrid of the Panzerkampfwagen 3 and 4 chassis. But in order to fit this propelled gun, they had to move the engine to the middle. That then allowed for a rear fighting compartment, where you see here. So let's look at the box art. So yeah, it's a 1/35 scale model number 367. On the side of the box here, you can see that you've got the Hummel, you've got the figures. There's also reference here to a metal barrel that can be obtained for this kit. And yeah, 2019. On this side of the box, you can see a paint scheme, and in each paint scheme it would appear that the units are unknown, and it's just basically the same on that side as well. Okay, so let's take a look inside the box. What do we get? We get an instruction booklet on assembly. We get the hull, a bag of sprues with 2 sprues in there, another bag of sprues with 2 sprues, 1 bag of single sprues, bag of sprues, another single bag of sprues, some poly caps and some cable with screws, and a small screwdriver. I've seen that before. We also get a background information booklet, with some colour vehicle designs called out there. We'll have a look at that as well. You get the decals, which nicely are in their own separate packaging. And also in the box you get some tech tips, which is standard with the Tamiya kit, and some probably health and safety paraphernalia, just a little bit of word on there. Okay, so let's put that to one side. Okay, so let's have a look at the booklet. So it's 20 pages. It's just basically a copy of, black and white copy of the box art. And when you take a look inside here, it gives you some caution information. It gives you the recommended tools, i.e. Tamiya cement, hobby knife, cutters, scissors, tweezers. It also refers to the different paints you're going to require. And as I mentioned from the box art there, or on the side of the box, they did have what's called a metal gun barrel, item number 12688, which I believe you can order directly from Tamiya, I'm not sure. And then you've got the 2 paint schemes, Eastern Front in the summer, Western Front in the summer, both 1944, and the units on each are unknown. And then they go on to talk about the assembly. So this, I think, is where they're talking about the track pin retainers here and talking about return rollers. So this is the assembly of the wheels. Then they go on to working on the underneath of the hull, add in various bits and pieces that you can see here. These are the return pin plates that stick on the side. You've then got the return rollers here. A lot of detail actually on there that we'll have a look at when we look inside. And then they go on with more detail about attaching rollers on the left and right. They seem to be referring to cutting off some plastic here, so pay attention to that. Now, sometimes what I do is I will have, I've got it here actually, sometimes what I'll do is I'll have like a marker pen, and I'll just put an asterisk on what I'm working on there, looking at, and all I do with the asterisk means is I've just got to pay particular attention to this here and maybe read the instructions a bit more closely, maybe do some test fitting before I really start cutting and making sure I'm doing the right thing. Then they talk about this is the lock and link, I think. This is where they've kind of made long bits of track and then added all the exercise, but what they've done is they've kind of pre-molded the sag. Now I know for the more advanced modelers who like a bit more detail, they may prefer just to not get these at all and put metal tracks in, which is fine. But as you can see in the picture here, you can see the kind of the sag that they've kind of managed to replicate. I think it's a good job. They're paying particular attention to the fighting compartment floor here. So again, this would be a good test fit piece to make sure you get right. Then they're looking at these side skirts here, adding these on. Then they're building up on the upper hull and on the deck engine, on the actual deck, different hatches, viewing ports, particularly there. Then there's further hull parts that they're attaching. Then it would appear that they actually attach the upper hull directly on. So at this point in step 15, you've already got the assembled wheels, you've got your tracks on, the lower hull's had all its bits and pieces put on, and they're now attaching the upper hull. Then they're building out the fighting compartment here. Again, I think it's nothing too complicated there. Then they're attaching the rear armour plate. Now this, I think, is something we need to be kind of mindful of to get test fitted right, so that there's no real big gaps. Although again, for the advanced modeler there, this would be an opportunity to get weld beads on there and stuff like that. So, you know, there's always opportunities. Then they're adding on some MG34 machine guns added in there. Then they're building up the side of the fighting compartment. And because this was a late production model where Germany now were kind of disposing of that real accuracy and relying on speed for building, these plates I think were a lot thinner. So they go on there. Then you've got some support struts in, more boxes going on. Then the left armour plate is built. This is then attached onto the left-hand side of the kit there. You've got then some hooks that go onto the front. Then you've got some more brackets being attached. This is the gun base. They're talking about polycaps, so critical piece now. You know, you need to be test fitting these. This is the gun mount being assembled. Again, test fitting is critical here. putting this together is 2 halves of the cradle. Then they're attaching the cradle. You know what? I think all of this needs to be test fitted really. And then you've got some equilibrators. I think these were a version of a piston or a hydraulic piston, and it could just be when the gun was going up and elevating and up and down, this would have smoothed out that ride. So again, make sure these are test fitted when you're attaching them to this gun here. Then you putting in the breech, and then you're assembling the gun barrel. Now I think here, for those that really like to have that detail, the metal gun barrel I think might be a good option, because gluing 2 halves to create a gun barrel, it represents its own issues. It can be achieved, but again, a lot of attention to detail, test fitting and making sure you get it right. This then gets slotted into the breech then gets attached to the cradle, and then the cradle assembly. Yeah, see, all of it, this is really quite tricky, but if you follow the instructions, I think you'll be fine. Then you attach the elevation mechanism, then you're attaching the gun shield supports, and then the front plate assembly is done. Here, from this wire, here they've got some tow cable with tow cable eyes. These are attached to the front. They're also then attaching the whole of that gun assembly onto the engine, onto the upper hull. And then you're attaching the armour plate. Now with these bits here, make sure, there's a lot of X's on this particular booklet. Then you're building up the Bosch headlight, you've got the jack, and then the gun travel lock. The gun travel lock is when the vehicle is being driven around and is not in the theatre. It's just there to make sure that it doesn't get damaged. This will be in the stowed position. Snap. That must just click into that, so there's no glue. That's the tow cable tied to the front. There's some extra armour plate added to the front of the vehicle. Then you've got some more road wheels that are attached to the back of the vehicle. Then you've got some covers and some steps going on. Then there's some shell assembly. Actually, it's quite interesting about the shells, because this was a 15cm shell, and one of the unique things about, or one of the annoying things about this Hummel, was it could only carry about 18 to 20 rounds, because although you had the shell, it also needed a propellant canister, and they took up a lot of room. So although you've got 18, you've got 18 shells or 20 shells and 20 bags. That's a lot of space. And these vehicles, I'm pretty sure, had support vehicles that carried more ammunition for them. Then you've got the three crew members. They show them in situation and how it's all set up. Colour call-outs as well there. And then on the back of this particular instruction booklet, it covers about the painting, details applying your decals, and then any aftermarket parts that are needed or required because they're missing or whatever, and there's a list of items there. So that's the instruction booklet. Then we've got this booklet. This is the background information. Got it in Japanese. You've also got it in English. So here they just give you a lot of information about the design, where it was deployed, the specifications, and then they've got the 2 colour schemes. This colour scheme is the Eastern Front, summer of 1944. but it's an unknown unit, so there's no unit marking, and there's no unit markings on this one on the Western Front, which would be the summer of 44 as well. And you can see in this particular scheme, there's no camouflage, and again, unknown unit with no marking. Nice addition, actually. I think if I was gonna pick one, I'd pick the Eastern Front. A lot more interest, and with that sort of colour, it does pop. Okay. So let's have a look at the screw. There's some screws. So this is the lower hole. Let's get that. Yeah, a lot of detail there. Very clean. There's a few little stressy marks from the injection moulding process. But, you know, this is a Tamiya kit. So it's, you know, the detail is going to be really excellent, crisp, and I'm sure the fit on these will be fine as well. You can see in here some ejector pin marks, but they're in the right place on the inside, and there's a lot going on there. I think that's that piece here that they were talking about. I don't know if you can see it just there. Well, I think you might need to cut it off, but pay careful attention to that in the instruction manual, and yeah, don't go cutting too quickly until you're really sure. But yeah, it's a nice tub. Then we've got another bag of screws here, two sets of screws. Let's have a look at these. Now in these you've got the tracks, some separate tracks. These look like some of the boxes that go on the interior of the fighting compartment, some of the shells. These are some of the canister bags, shell bags, propellant. That's that shovel. You've got side bracket there. Lots of little tiny hooks. Lots of good detail. I mean, it's well moulded. No real evidence of flash, and from the 2019 production build, I'd say the quality then is starting to get excellent. All the ejector pin marks, if there are any, are on the insides, so they won't be visible. A lot of piece halves to be made up and a little bit of cleaning, I'm sure. This is an interesting point. See this toe hook shackle there? What they've done is, rather than make it completely round, they've left the segment open, so then you can put your piece of wire for that bit of authenticity, or use the cable that they've provided in, and then when you paint it, you just cover that over and they wouldn't even know. Really nice. And this is just literally a carbon copy of the same thing we just looked at. Again, you know, tracks, boxes, shells, all very similar. Single guide horns, which you know, means that the road wheels on these were quite narrow. But the vehicle itself wouldn't have been that heavy because it was quickly built, wasn't it? So it was designed for speed. So the combination of the Panzer II and Panzer III, or the Panzer III and Panzer IV chassis, yeah, it would have been lighter than, say, like a Tiger. Next bag of sprues. These are, now we're looking at the road wheels, sprockets, idlers. These look like, wow, what they've done here is they've actually made up the whole damper kit. So you've got the spring. The road wheels would have been attached to this, and as this spring was going up and down when it was travelling, these would be like the blocks that stop it from grounding right out. That's a nice little touch. Lots of good detail. Again, in terms of flash, nothing here that seems to concern me. Very good quality, really good quality. Good. Wow, this is a big sprue. Okay, let's have a look at this one then. So look, you've got more boxes. This would be the gun barrel. This will be, you'd have to be really careful to put this together. I mean, in terms of flash, there is none. You've got the ejector pin marks on the inside, which for a Tamiya, you'd expect nothing less. This then goes together neatly, and then with a lot of attention and cleaning, you could get away with getting away with the seam lines not showing. A bit of sprue glue may be helpful. Or go for the metal barrel. They seem to be suggesting it on the box, so it may be something that they kind of want you to get. But overall, the quality of the moulding on this is excellent. That's that front piece of track that would go on the front of the vehicle. This looks like some kind of breech makeup. You've got where's the MG34? I just saw that a second ago. Oh, there it is. That's the MG34 there. Nicely detailed. No real clean up again there. Yeah, it's just nice, really nice. I mean, all the ejector pin marks, I think you can see, are all on the insides of these. So when it comes to getting these together, once you get the test fitted them and you get them together and they're neat and they're painted, this is going to look really fabulous, really fabulous. I can see why this is actually still quite popular even now, because yeah, it's a nice kit. Okay, so open this up. So this would be the top of the Hummel. So this would be the top of the hull. You've got the side skirts pre-built already. These would be the side fighting compartment pieces here. This piece here would be where the front of the 15cm gun protrudes through. But again, you know, great detail. You know, they've even got that sort of, you know, where the this would be the end. This would be the rear fighting compartment floor, and you've got that non-slip sort of like design on there that would have been present. But again, you know, really crisp printing. Nothing here that would give you a concern. I mean, you know, all the ejector pin marks, you know, if I can catch them in the light, are in the right place, as I always like to see. I can't see anything here that's challenging, but really nice. You know, I mean, once these are properly washed, you know, in detergent and allowed to dry, because with any injection moulding, there'll be some sort of release agent on here, won't there? So standard practice is to wash it. These look like they're going to paint up really nicely. What I'd probably do, and the advanced modeler will probably do as well, is get some weld bead action going yourself on here to give it a bit more interest and pop. Another thing that a lot of builders might do is they might want to add their own resin parts to this as well, because I know it comes with the boxes and that, but just adding those to this would just give it a bit, make it a bit more busy. Really nice, really nice. And then you've got this last bag here, and actually this is the three the crew members. So you've got some stowage boxes attached to this as well. These are their faces that go together, arms, hats and stuff. They're not really carrying any weaponry, and I haven't seen any on any of the sprues. So again, for some modelers, that may be stuff they might want to add in there, like machine guns and stuff from other kits that they might have left over from. These will look to, you know, there's no flash on here. Nice, you know, nice natural creases in the trousers and on the arms. These look like they'll go together very well and paint up really nicely. So yeah, overall, really impressed. Then you've got this little bag. And in here, let's get it. There you go. So you've got some cable. here, you can see cable. That's what they provided. But, you know, if you want to get your own sort of metal cable, then definitely go for it. These are some poly caps. Not quite sure where they go, but they'll be clear in the instruction manual. There's some more plastic caps for something. These are very tiny, so a pair of tweezers will be needed to manage these, I'm sure, but take your time. Even more poly caps. This vehicle comes with loads of poly caps, so there's a lot going on here. So these will be for the road wheels. This will probably be for the assembly with the elevation of the gun. There's a couple of screws in here. Well, no, a couple. There's like a very long, yeah, some screws in there. Like a long screw, some tiny screws, and this little mini screwdriver. And then you've got the decals. And because this hasn't got any divisional markings, this would just be like the standard German identifying symbol and the vehicle number, and that's about it. So, you know, what makes this kit interesting for me is the fighting compartment interior, because whilst it includes ammunition, I mean, you can add more shells, you can scratch build additional storage, you can place items with aftermarket resin. Because the fighting compartment is open, where you've got radio kits and that, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to add in your own little bit of wiring to enhance the realism. And obviously this barrel here, I know it comes in 2 halves, but there is a suggestion here that you get the aftermarket barrel, which I think is what they're pushing, which is a shame really, because if they're pushing it, there is an argument that maybe they could have included it in the kit. In terms of the exterior hull, this would have still been in the time when Zimmerit coating was an option from factory, so you could definitely add Zimmerit to this. More photo etch stuff could be added to this in terms of tool clamps and adding more tools. Maybe if you update the cable from the nylon thread that they've provided to a metal one, that could add interest. But you can replace the plastic track that they've injection molded with metal to give it that general realism. So overall, I think the kit, I would say, is highly recommended. It's accurate, it's well engineered, crisp detail, good fit, great detail with that open fighting compartment. And for me, I think really adds to the appeal for this vehicle for me. You know, you've got that nice 20-page instruction booklet. You've got the information booklet containing the colour scheme. Yeah, I recommend it. I think this would be a really good build. So thanks for watching. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed the review, and maybe consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.